Let's begin this hour in Kano State, where 352 suspects are currently cooling their heels in the custody of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. The agency also seized 2.1 tons of illicit drugs in the state. That's according to the NDLEA Commander in Kano, Abubakar Idris-Ahmad. Mr. Idris-Ahmad said the seizures and arrests were made between January and March. He held that the suspects arrested comprised of 208 males and 44 females, while seized drugs include 955.304 kilograms of cannabis sativa and 1,225.05 kilograms of codeine and tramadol. Others, according to him, were 25 grams of cocaine, 17 grams of heroin, and 52 grams of methamphetamine. The commander said the major challenge before the agency in the state was convincing communities to expose peddlers of illicit drugs in their midst. He is now appealing to the general public to provide useful and timely information on drug traffickers to the command so as to take them out of circulation and safeguard the society. Away from Kano State to Abuja, where the federal government has secured the sum of $800 million from the World Bank as part of measures to scale up the National Social Investment Program in preparation for the removal of fuel subsidy in June. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, made this known at the end of this week's Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde has the story.
It seems the federal government is already taking proactive measures to cushion the effect of the hardship that will follow the removal of fuel subsidy in June this year. The Minister of Finance says the 2023 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and the Appropriation Act will make provisions for the vulnerable in the society captured in the federal government's National Social Register.
We made that provision to enable us exit fuel subsidy by June 2023. We're on course. We're having different stakeholder engagements. We've secured some funding from the World Bank. That is the first tranche of palliatives that will enable us to give cash transfers to the most vulnerable in our society.
The Federal Executive Council also granted approval for the National Population Census to boost its ICT infrastructure ahead of the head count scheduled for next month. Also, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission got a favorable consideration for its memo to build a new training facility.
For the contract for the development and the implementation of mobile device management solution for the personal digital assistance devices to be used for the 2023 population census. This is in the sum of about 4.4 billion naira.
The federal government is paying more attention to growing the non-oil sector and boosting its contribution to the gross domestic product. The council considered the need to send an executive bill to the National Assembly that will repeal the now obsolete Nigeria Mineral and Mining Law of 2007.
The Attorney General will be sending the bill, which is the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act 2023. That's the proposed act. The Attorney General will be sending it to the National Assembly, which we intend to follow up.
This week's Federal Executive Council meeting also approved 65 million naira for the supply of fire crash tenders for selected airports. Also, 1 billion naira was approved for the purchase of operational vehicles for the Nigeria Ports Authority. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Still in Abuja, where the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is optimistic that the next administration will continue the humanitarian work that has come to be the mainstay of the Buhari administration. She spoke at the closing ceremony of the End Knowledge Expansion Training Program in Abuja. Moyo Thomas reports.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has graduated a total of 3,300 young Nigerians across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country in its End Knowledge program, one of the segments of the Empower project under the National Social Investment Program. This closeout brings the total of Nigerians empowered to about 1.5 million since 2016 when it kicked off. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs admonishes graduates to ensure the life skills they learned at the center boost productivity and make them economically dependent.
These well-organized curricula are meant to shape you in the choice of your trades, to become useful to yourselves and develop competencies which will increase production and add to the overall growth of our society.
She assures them that the government will immediately begin the payment of 10,000 naira monthly stipend for a period of 9 months as she hands them their starter packs. The starter pack is expected to help jumpstart their money-making opportunities. Amarachi Umwafo, a university student, was also one of the beneficiaries and could not contain her joy as she is certain she will make millions of naira from the training she received.
I'll make millions.
How?
Teaching is one of it, and making people know that, because in part of the coding aspect is one of the difficult things. That's why she said coding is a thing that if you live a day, it's just as if you don't know it for a month. So that's the difficult part of it, and that's the part I know that I'm going to earn more money. And the only way I can do that is by teaching others and making people know that this is the way it's being done.
Knowledge is a non-graduate program that trains youth between 18 and 35 in NTech hardwares, NTech softwares, and creative training, animation, and script writing. Achieving President Buhari's agenda of taking 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years means the next administration must also have, as part of its core mandate, care for the vulnerable, jobs for the youth, and other unemployed Nigerians. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's bring you back to Southwest State in Oyo. Especially, experts are seeking efforts amongst individuals, private sector and government towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Those were the focus of the keynote speakers at the conference held in Ibadan. Olaido Yewole has more in this report.
Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2015 are aimed at ending poverty, protecting the planet and ensuring prosperity for all. But the achievement of these goals require a multi-stakeholder approach that recognizes the interconnected nature of the goals and the need for an integrated approach.
We need to create our own model.
Now, key speakers at this conference want the government and relevant stakeholders to collaborate to create an enabling environment that promotes sustainable development. They are also demanding that policies and regulations that will incentivize sustainable practices and promote agricultural value chain, as well as financial inclusion, be formulated.
Financial inclusion has a lot to do. Even the agri-business issue that was raised by the presenter today, because the agri sector has a lot of potentials. And so we need to harness all that is available, not only looking at output production alone or output alone. We are looking at the value chain.
The paper also warned government that when granting incentive, government need to take cognizance of the fact that incentive you grant now is a revenue leakages now. But if it is properly channeled, it will be a multiplier effect in future.
So the speaker, women need to be empowered politically as their role in achieving the SDGs cannot be ignored.
Political representation of women in governance, is part of women empowerment. And the World Bank study has revealed that by 2025, if 50% of women, that we presently have in political spaces are more involved, then Nigeria's GDP would grow by about $229 billion.
Participants at this conference believe that achieving socio-economic growth, which is crucial to attaining the SDGs, requires a synergy between the government and relevant stakeholders' commitment to sustainable development principles. Olaide Oyewole, TVC News, Ibadan.